Welcome back to Property Playbook. We're your hosts, Elena Saradidis.
And Erica Reddy-Choquette.
And as you can see, it's cold outside, which means it's cuffing season, right?
Cuffing season?
Is that not what they say?
What is cuffing season?
It's when you get into relationships.
Cuffing?
Cuffing.
I need to look this up.
Okay, you're going to look it up afterwards because we don't have time for
What
that
does
now.
cuffing mean? You like hibernate and meet people? Well, I guess you can't hibernate and meet people.
You just meet people and you start dating. It's like winter.
Okay, I'm not trendy.
You're
Clearly.
I could also not be trending. This could totally be cringy. We don't know. But when it comes to new relationships and owning real estate, there is something called a cohabitation agreement that needs to be discussed. So as much as prenups are so fun as a topic,
As if they're fun. Oh my gosh.
cohabitations are really something that people need to be talking about, especially if one of the two parties own and the other is moving into that property.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, listen, I feel like there's nothing less exciting than talking about a cohab or talking about a prenup. But I think it is really important for people to understand the place and the time for these types of agreements and these types of contracts, and also just understanding the law, because I think, you know, from what I see with clients, the understanding of matrimonial law, especially around a matrimonial property, or frankly, even when you are cohabitating in a property and when that property all of a sudden becomes effectively a matrimonial dwelling, even if you're not technically married, it still falls under that same type of common law structure. And I don't know about you, but time does not seem to slow down. So I feel like I blink and a year's gone, I blink and 2 years is gone. So I think it can be quite easy to move in with somebody, think nothing of it, and boom, before you know it, you're technically, as per the law, cohabitating, and all of a sudden you have a real estate asset. What?
This
Why
is my
are you
new
laughing at me?
question. Did you and Graham have a cohab?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Can you kind of
Again-
walk us through kind of the process of like even having that discussion? to
Yeah.
have
So
the
I
cohab?
mean, I'm sure that part of, being in real estate and being pragmatic and seeing clients through things, both Graham and I looked at the situation when we were moving in together and went, okay, let's just get ahead of this. Like, it's never going to be fun. We're never going to want to do it. But, we have to treat the kind of the business in our relationship as a business, and our relationship as a relationship as a relationship. And so that's, we as, I don't know, we kind of took the feelings out of everything and just went, let's very black and white, get our life documented and sorted, with no intent of ever needing to hopefully use these contracts. But if they're not in place and we don't have them, and God forbid something does happen and we need to fall back on something and we have nothing, it gets complicated. So we did that. And honestly, like, full transparency, like, it was not an enjoyable process. Like, opening up your life, trying to figure out exactly how you're going to, delegate this or that, or appoint this or appoint that, is like, when the lawyers obviously get involved and the jargon gets quite legal. And like, I'm not going to pretend that it's like, you should grab coffee on a Sunday and draft a cohab and you're going to be like, woo, this was fun.
But it's good to actually have conversations like when things are happening from someone that's actually done one, because
100%.
it's different when you're telling a client like get a cohabitation agreement, or it's different when you're like, you see the mess that unfolds
Absolutely.
when people are splitting up and a cohabitation agreement is not in place,
Yeah.
or what loopholes are around cohabitation agreements, or how easy it turns into a family court matter. But it's like getting a prenup. It's insurance. Until you know you need it, you don't know you need it.
Yeah.
And there are a lot more women investing in real estate than there are men right now. And you need to know this. This is like a common topic. Whoever buys real estate needs to understand that if they move someone into their home, how does it work?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
not just your home anymore. If they contribute to the words of the mortgage, if they contribute to something, is it considered a marital home? And that's the conversation that you need to have before you're moving in with your partners.
Absolutely. And I mean, listen, I think the beauty is there are a lot of people that own real estate, and then there are a lot of people that are meeting and amalgamating over real estate. So it's great that there's this much real estate in the marketplace. But yes, to your point, I think the kind of conversation of like, our relationship's gotten to a point that we're now living together and you're living under somebody's roof. What does that look like for the person who's moving in? And what does it look like for the person whose roof is effectively now becoming a joint dwelling? And or if you're buying a property together, same thing. I mean, you're bringing a lot together as soon as you're buying a property. And I think, a bit like wills. I mean, I feel like I talk to a lot of people and I'm like, do you have a will? And they're like, oh, that's a really good question. Or no, I don't really. Or everyone can figure it out when I'm gone. And I'm like, okay, horrible.
Can I tell you that keeps me up at night?
Do you have one?
No.
Oh dear.
No one run me over, please. Like, I don't have a will yet.
Yeah.
But no, I had a moment in time where I literally would wake up in sheer panic and be like, Dan, oh my God, we have no will. And I'm working on it. But I would wake up in sheer panic and be like, I don't have a will. How would things be divided? How would things be split? Like, me and my fiance are not married yet. How would it be separated? Like, we own joint real estate. Like, I would literally be woken up at night being like, what happens if the worst case scenario happens and like everything's a shit show? Because I don't know what would happen. So have the conversations, have them early so you don't wake up in sheer panic later on, because then that could happen.
Yeah. But no, I think that's the really important thing. And I also think just, understanding where to even begin. So I think let's break this down. Like if someone's like, okay, perfect, we're moving in together. What does that look like? How do we do a cohab agreement? I think that's where you start. That's number one. So you would sit down. I would say my advice would be you start that conversation together and you kind of figure out what does everybody have asset wise that they want to delineate in the cohab agreement before taking it to kind of your independent counsel. From there, you'd involve a lawyer for each party to get, their respective portion of their cohabitation agreement drafted. And then you would typically come together, make sure that everybody was in agreement before signing. That's how I would suggest it's done. And of course, this takes more time than sounding like it's a whole, 5-minute exercise here.
No, it takes more time, and you got to remember like to keep emotions kind of in check, because it's not again like you versus me, and it's better to have these conversations before you move in together because you can lay it out before it even happens.
Well, it gets granular. Like that's the thing you have to remember. Like, I mean, again, I did this quite a while ago, but I've seen clients through it too. They'll sometimes call me and be like, hey, Erica, like, what do you think about this? Because the lawyer's talking about, if we were to sell the property, would it be a shotgun? Would it be a this? Would it be a that? Would we bring in 3 real estate agents? How would we arrive? It gets really down to the nitty gritty. And so you have to be prepared for these decisions and for, what you would want should the worst happen.
Yeah, and just because you mentioned shotgun, I'm going to clarify what shotgun is.
Oh, yes.
Because we've got to dumb it down.
No, but I mean, no one's thinking I'm thinking a shotgun to someone's head.
No. So like basically in agreements, whether you're buying with your partner or whether you're buying with someone else, a shotgun clause is basically a statement that says, if, for example, one of you wants out, you have the ability to offer a number to the other. If the other party says, I would buy it at that number, it's their property. Or it's your property. So for example, I'm like to Erica, me and Erica bought a property together. It's worth 1.4. And I turned to Erica and I was like, 1.45, I want the property, I want you out.
Yeah.
Either Erica will agree to pay 1.45 or whatever I just said.
Yeah, 145.
145, or it's my property. And I paired Erica that out. So it's a clause to basically be like, no one can lowball each other, because if the price is too good, the other party would just pay it.
Yeah.
So that's what a shotgun clause is. It's to make sure that no one lowballs each other. There's also multiple different ways of doing this. If you're not just investing with like your potential partner and your cohab, maybe for example, you're investing with multiple business partners and you decided to invest in real estate. There's partnerships that you can put in place to make sure that everyone is protected and who makes decisions. So like, I think I might have talked about this on a past episode. I don't remember, but I have talked about a few of the properties that I own with different individuals.
Yeah.
So I am a serial investor in real estate. One of the properties I own, we have it split between 4 individuals. Everyone has shares to the corporation that owns the home. I'm the one that has like final say. That's how it's been worded. So if I decided tomorrow I want to sell the home, I can sell the home. If I decided tomorrow that I have signing authority to sign a new tenant in, I can sign the new tenant. Everyone else has silent shares. So they all get to benefit from all the moves that I make, or they get the risk of all the moves I'm making. But I have final say, and we did it purposely that way.
Yeah.
So there was a direction the ship was going in, and no one would be fighting from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, we know exactly what's happening. I'm the one in real estate. They were like, you're the obvious choice. If you say it's the right time to sell, we'll sell. If you say it's the right time to do this, then we'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely fine. You're running the ship. Of course, like if something goes sideways in the agreement, like they can challenge it.
Yeah.
But I have the right to do
and
what
I think
needs
this
to
is
be
the
done.
big thing is it's just when everything's done right out of the gates and everything's delineated right out of the gates, it makes tough situations easier.
But also, people need to remember, like, no one's perfect, and everyone makes, I don't want to say makes mistakes, but you don't know to do this until you know to do this. So like until your hand's been put in the fire and you've actually gotten burned, like you wouldn't think first step, get a cohabitation agreement. You wouldn't think first step, well, I'm buying with my friend or with my cousin or with my, like what, get an agreement put in place on what happens if anything does occur and who gets the right to sell. Do we have the right to sell? You don't think about it until it actually happens to you.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, think about it from a logical standpoint. Like it all seems like, yeah, this is what one should be doing. But I think, you know, when it comes to typically doing these kinds of things, when you're moving in with your partner, you're super excited. When you're buying a property, you're super excited. Like you're not doing these things in like duress and horrible place and state. And typically when you're buying a property with someone, you're investing, it's your partner, whatever, you're seeing your future at this property with this person or at this property as an investment. And so that's typically not when someone goes, okay, let me now turn to the worst case situation and get the contract drafted for when all of this falls apart, because in their mind, it's not actually ever going to fall apart. And I think that's where this gets a bit sticky, because bringing it up, you know, I've definitely had clients say to me, well, Erica, how do I bring this up? Because it almost feels like I'm saying that I don't trust the other person, or I don't trust my partner, or I don't, you know, that my...
Do you see where I'm going with this? I'm about to jump out of my seat. Erica knows this all too well. Every once in a while, she'll give a question and it makes me go crazy. Blame me. I always tell my clients to blame me.
Right.
I'm like, my agent told me that I can't have you move in until you sign a cohab. I'm so sorry. She told me this. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. Blame me. All listeners can use me as an excuse too. Elena told me that I have to.
Who is Elena? But no, I think that's the big piece.
But blame me. Blame the lawyer. Be like, hey, we drafted up contracts with the lawyer. And when the lawyer was drafting up the contract, when I purchased this, they told me if I ever move someone in, I need to have this. Like, I'm so sorry. My agent told me I need to have this. I'm so sorry. Like, this, bring up the conversation. And again, like if you need to use me as a scapegoat, if your partner needs to hate me, like let them hate me, not hate you. Like,
but I think that's the thing. And I think more I'm saying to those that don't have one in place, don't beat yourself up. You can always get one in place. You don't have to do it the day that everybody moves in together.
Like post-nup. People get prenups after they get married.
You're coming up with all these words.
Right? No, it's a thing. Post-nups are a thing.
Fine, I'll give you that.
Oh my God, go Google this. I'm gonna make you Google this right now live. Like these are words.
Oh, what did you say?
Cuffing season and post-nup. Erica's gonna look this up, and then we're gonna have a conversation about it. Stand by. We're gonna fast forward this.
Season meaning. Oh, cuffing season refers to a period of time where single people begin looking for short-term partnerships to pass the colder months. Wouldn't really say that applies to needing a cohab.
Yes, but it's cuffing season. It's the winter.
Okay, fine. The cuffing season usually begins in October and lasts until just after Valentine's Day. There you go. I hope someone else learned something new. What am I now looking up?
Post-nup. It's a thing.
Post-nup.
I should have put money on all these words that I've been using.
Services. So yes, there is a prenup or a post-nup.
There we go.
Expert guidance on cohabitation agreements. Protect your rights and simplify your marriage. Wow, it makes it sound so easy.
That was a very sexy topic right there. The other thing that I was going to say is what happens if you come in and you're purchasing a property with another individual and you're putting less of the money down? Or let's say, for example, the other person has more of the mortgage qualifications. Like that's conversations you should have ahead of time too. And when the lawyers are drafting up the documents, again, we never want to be like the worst case scenario is going to happen to you. But if it does, be prepared. So if, for example, you're putting in 30% and your partner's putting in the other 70%, make an agreement that says 30% of the gains go to one, 70% of the gains go to the other.
But the one thing you have to remember, and again, we're not real estate lawyers. We're not real estate lawyers, that's for sure. But we're also not this is not our realm of expertise.
Yeah, what's the clause that we have in all of our agreements? Nothing to be construed as expert legal, financial, or what was the last one? Advice.
No. Legal.
Either way.
Effectively, more I'm saying this is definitely something to consult a lawyer on, because I think the other thing, to your point on the example of say 30 and 70, is then if you get matrimonial law in the mix, that 70 and 30 doesn't matter anymore. That agreement doesn't matter anymore.
But also a cohab doesn't matter anymore.
So this is where I'm just saying I don't want people to necessarily think that this cohab agreement is the be all and the end all for everything.
And it can be challenged.
There are definitely situations where the cohab agreement can be challenged. There are situations where you can be putting in 10% and 90%, but it's a matrimonial home and it's 50-50. And so there are situations where just because you have this cohab agreement or just because you've put X and this, that, the other, it doesn't just boil right down to, oh, well, this piece of paper or this or this. There is still other complexities, other areas of the law, and just things that I think people should be aware of. So that's my like disclaimer. This is definitely, I think, great advice and something people should be bringing into conversation, drafting and doing, but also just understand the shifts and the changes in law, matrimonial, cohab, all of the above.
Yeah, and the other thing too, like I had a client recently actually, when she was purchasing a property, her mom was gifting her a portion of her down payment. And the mom had a conversation with me, the mortgage broker and the lawyer, and was like, the worst thing in the world to me would be me giving my daughter all this money and then all of a sudden fall in love with a guy, googly eyes, he moves in, they get married, whatever, stuff goes sideways, and then he got half of everything that I just gifted my daughter. So like the lawyers actually created a separate document that's basically like a lien on the house or like a loan on the house.
Right.
And that needs to be paid out first should anything happen.
Right. And
so
again,
like,
getting ahead of that would protect her. If it was done differently and it was just gifted and that became the
marital home,
call it the marital home, that gift would not have the protection. So this is kind of where I say, like, just to your point in that example, know the intricacies of these things and really figure out what it means and go into the understanding, because there are a lot of times where, to your point, I'll see that. I'll see large gifts. I'll see someone lost not a spouse because they'd be living with their spouse, a relative, and got an inheritance and then puts the inheritance down against the property and goes, well, that's protected. Well, under matrimonial law, it's not. So I just think there's complexities, there's things to understand, and there's definitely some contracts that you can put in place to protect yourself, others that you should have. And just, I think, truthfully, a vast understanding of what this all means.
But the conclusion is have these conversations early.
Yes.
And talk to the right professionals about it. Talk to your accountant, talk to your mortgage broker, talk to your lawyer, how to structure these things. And when you draft a cohab, also talk to a family lawyer, because you have to understand how they can be challenged in the future.
Yeah.
And a little bit of money, I know we're asking you to spend money to get these cohabitations actually done, but a little bit of money for protection is worth a world when problems do happen.
Yeah.
Once again, it's Elena Saradidis.
And Erica Reddy-Choquette.
And if you like content like this, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.